into positions of hopelessness and helplessness. The government gives them the drugs, builds bigger prisons, passes a 3-strike law, and then wants us to sing God Bless America. No, no, no. Not God Bless America. God damn America. That's in the Bible for killing innocent people. God damn America for treating us citizens as less than human. God damn America as long as she tries to act like she is God and she is supreme.
Okay, hello everyone. Welcome to Poddamn America, the stupid fucking podcast for idiots about socialism and dumb stuff for morons and ghosts. I'm Jake Flores. Anders Lee is here.
Dumb idiot Anders Lee here.
Alex Patak is here.
Thanks for having me back, Jake. Excited to discuss the topics of the day.
Thank you for joining us. You're a guest of the show is the bit here? On his 500th appearance on the show, guest Alex Patak.
Record holder.
Yeah.
I got a trophy.
Still not an official member of the show, but you're getting pretty close, putty.
We're going to get around to reading that application sometime soon.
Yeah. Right now it's just me and Anders. A guy even
I have a lot of
died.
experience. It's true.
A guy died.
The openings really flew open out of nowhere, and I'm still not in there.
You're on Dodeca double secret podcast probation, but you're getting close.
My third year of podcast internship.
Third host, Raghav Mehta.
Yeah.
Raghav?
Yeah.
Say your joke.
I wish I made a Raghav robot. That would be fucked up.
I don't think you should have made one.
Yeah, no.
Rogbot.
Him being mad at us. All right, and we are also joined by meme artist from the internet, Teenage Stepdad. Welcome to the show.
Hey, thanks for having me on.
Thanks for being here. We're here to talk today a little bit about your new show on Means TV called Seize the Memes, which I am to understand is like a fun Bob Ross kind of thing, but with memes. Pretty cool, huh?
Yeah, it's that's kind of the idea is to instead of making beautiful pictures of landscapes with paint and canvas, let's use the tools that people have at their disposal, shitty laptops and phones, to make boners come, piss and shit jokes and socialist and communist propaganda, and have people make their own media. So
very cool. Are you a Bob Ross fan at all?
Yeah, I mean, Bob Ross, I've always been a big fan growing up. That was something I loved to watch. But really, I usually bring up Bob Ross because that's kind of easier to explain to people. But my real inspiration for this show was a lesser-known show, New Yankee Workshop, with Norm Abram from This Old House, a cabinet-making instructional series from my childhood. So
interesting. Okay.
Cabinets are kind of the memes of the 90s.
I was thinking at one point, it's during the pandemic, I live in a piece of shit punk warehouse thing, and so I spent a lot of time inside of it during the pandemic and was doing things like taking down the tarp that I used to catch rainwater that leaks into the ceiling, and how to install like an air conditioner where it really shouldn't be. And I was thinking about making it This Old Punk House. Huh? That's a fun idea.
Oh, hell yeah. A home improvement series for today's youth.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe that'll be a future project. But I get the bit. The bit is, Bob Ross is an easier way to explain the bit, but it's modeled more closely on. Go ahead.
Were you like making the cabinets as a 10-year-old or whatever?
Yeah, well, actually, yeah. My dad was a carpenter and woodworker, and that's kind of what we did on some weekends, is spend some time in his shop or using scrap material from construction sites to make soapbox derby racers and go-karts and all sorts of shit. So maybe not cabinets, but way cooler shit than cabinets.
Okay.
You're not competing with your dad.
What's that?
It was with your dad. Yeah, it was supervised. It wasn't like
we were supervised.
Okay.
It's not you versus him, and then you have the show to kind of train you in what you've missed. You'll never be as good as me. You'll never make as good cabinets.
That would be cool.
No, yeah.
For a second, I thought you were like a cabinet making savant. That would, if like a 6-year-old who can make cabinets on their own, that would.
Yeah, master
What's the
carpenter starts young, like a weird kind of dojo situation.
Yeah.
Make
The
it
only one I can think of
again.
is Jesus. Yeah, there's a limited famous carpenter roster you can work with.
Yeah.
What's the biggest? What's the biggest cabinet you've ever made?
The Biden administration's.
Wow, really well done, Anders.
Yes, something we all made together.
I mean, we are the left, so that was us.
That's right.
Good job, guys.
Thank you.
We did it.
Yeah.
We did it.
I have a question. Did you grow the mustache for the show as part of the Bob Ross oeuvre, or is this legitimately?
It was just this stupid kind of last minute decision. I was like, this character needs a mustache. And God, I regret it every day because, like, you know, I've got some promo stuff still to film, so I haven't been able to really, you know, it takes a while to grow this fucking guy. So, yeah, that was a really bad little piece of decision making. Because what a terrible place for hair. I mean, especially when all the rest of it's gone. I mean, I like to drink a smoothie as much as the next guy, and you know, I like having non-chapped lips. It's like it's a very strange place to grow a thing of hair on purpose.
Yeah, you need, but you know, I feel like you always want a reason to do it. It's hard to do it like for no reason when you had like a, you know, because I crave the mustache, having it, but I don't have any reason to get one right now. The last time I had one, because I usually wear a beard, and I shaved it off and did the mustache because it was my last day of work at a job, and I just pretended to be a weirdo. Not that all people with mustaches are weirdos.
Oh,
but
it's weird as hell. I think.
Yeah, no,
Okay.
it's part of the vibe for sure.
Yeah, but it was great because it was like my last day of work waiting tables, and so I approached every table like, "Hi, my name is Timothy. These are our specials today." And,
You just became a new man
Yeah.
for the day.
Okay,
it was fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like
Anders has already left. This is Timothy's shit.
I feel like it's like masculinity cosplay.
Totally.
You know what I mean?
That's a
Yeah.
good point.
The diversity on the mustache types is all over the place because you have soft artists who, you know, are like, I'm approachable. Look, you could hug the top part of my face. That's one element of it. But then a whole other genre of mustache wearer, aviators, state troopers, people who wear it like a badge.
Yeah,
If you want
I
to
would-
kiss, you're going to kiss the law.
I would say that has traditionally been mustache wearers, but they have dwindled quite significantly. Growing up, my dad had a mustache, and you know Tom Selleck had a mustache. You know, authority figures and stuff. But both of them have now done the full goatee that connects to the mustache. So I feel like those figures now. I feel like the mustache is associated with too much irony for like a cop to pull it off anymore.
I don't know.
So-
I don't trust anyone with a goatee. That's like,
Yeah, that's oh man, not even for a bit.
yeah. It's very, the oeuvre is very much like I'm making a video in my car. I'm yelling about something. I'm going to put it on Facebook and let people know what I think about, you know, the government or whatever.
Right. But that type of person would be a mustache person 20, 30 years ago. And
I
now
see.
they're a goatee guy.
Well, that's all.
yeah.
This all does make sense because, like, so okay, what have we learned here? Right, lesson one: you suffer for your art. That does fucking happen. You have to have a mustache for this whole thing. And the second part of this is like, I mean, I understand why you did it because Means TV has this whole fucking retro like vibe going on that's very much explored in the show that you made with like going to the VHS store and stuff like that. So I'm sorry that you had to endure the mustache, but I think
Yeah.
it was worth it. It seems cool.
You know, and then I find out that my wife likes it. So now I don't know. And my kids like it. So it's like, I feel like once I shave it off, it'll be like, you know, when Alex Trebek shaved his mustache and when Tom Selleck shaved his, and they just look fucking weird as hell.
Yeah.
I feel like that's going to be just my look. So
Moments that are carved onto the American psyche.
My dad, I saw a picture of him without a mustache. That for once for Halloween in the 80s, he didn't have a mustache. And it was very upsetting. Like, I almost cried.
It makes it look like your lip is just way vertically high or something.
Yeah, you look like
just
a Simpson.
total weird. Yeah, it's
Was
the
that-
weirdest thing.
Was that your dad's costume? Was he just like, little Anders, no mustache today?
I don't
Wants
know
to
what
sit on Pop's shoulders.
I mean, it was before I was even born, and even the picture of it was
You just look at it and scream.
Yeah.
Oh man, I wonder if he got injured on his top lip or something and had to. It's like,
Oh, tragic. My
That almost
dad.
happened to me. I had to get stitches on my chin, and they were like, "You're gonna have to shave your beard." And then I did. Yeah.
You're gonna be a mustache guy.
Right. But it
were you able to like keep at least like a soul patch or something, or?
I just didn't do it because I found out that it actually is better to not shave because you might shave over the cut, which is not a good idea.
There you go.
Anders walked out of the hospital. He said, I'm not interested.
Bleeding from the
going to
face.
affect my
No,
future.
sir. My dad had a mustache. My dad's Mexican, but he like looks like Saddam Hussein when he has the mustache, and we made fun of him until he shaved it.
That's hard.
Yeah, I know. I feel bad. We bullied my own dad. Well, this ain't the damn mustache podcast, although it has been
Wait,
for
what?
the last 10 minutes.
It's not.
Let's talk about
I thought we were
art.
going to keep riffing on that for a sec. Yeah, art.
So, this show, obviously, like the pitch of it, the angle seems pretty straightforward. It's like very populist. It's very much like, hey, art doesn't have to be something you go to, you know, fancy, expensive school for. You can use the tools that you use to consume art to make art. Very cool. Phones, computers, and shit. Bullshit that you have to use to work. Bam. That's how we get to memes, right? I have a question, though. Did you go to art school?
I did not. I took one printmaking class at a community college, but that's the extent of my art school experience. Yeah, when I tell people in the show, one of the episodes is today's a great day to drop out of art and design school, and that's
Right.
not necessarily from experience. That's just from observation. You know, like it's we live in a world surrounded by the language of design that's kind of given to us. It's kind of thrust on us by people who went through these avenues of school and universities and really expensive colleges and stuff. And I think that with modern design, that's why I find it so hard to relate to, is because it doesn't reflect the lives of really anybody I know. And the cool thing about memes is that it's like a populist art form that has very little barriers to entry, that is led by trans folks, people of color, poor and working class people, and they're able to put their ideas about the world out there to millions of people
sorry,
by sheer brute force.
Transphobes?
Trans folks.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Oh,
Like,
geez.
yeah, we got
That's
transphobes.
That is a-
Nazis.
Transphobes are at the
That is a-
forefront of the meme community, and
Yeah.
it's something we're trying to address.
No, yeah, obviously the opposite of that, but
Okay.
Well, there
Yeah,
are right-wing memes, though.
Right.
oh, there sure as hell are, you know. So like, I mean, they're, you know, from the perspective on our side, they're really terrible memes, but good God, are they effective? I mean, you can draw a straight line from you know, memes on 4chan to mass murder events, and it's fucking crazy, you know.
Yeah.
And it's
Well, it
it's
just
a
means
wild world up there.
art is itself a neutral thing that can be charged, you know, positively or negatively or whatever. So it's like not the thing's fault, right? It's just that it's being used by shitty people, and it is effective, and it is like populist, I guess, which is interesting to me because like we did see like the power of memes, maybe not in the like. Maybe not literally like causing Trump's election, but like doing enough propaganda to where the people that were like really into the Pepe shit like thought that they elected him. Like there was this thing after he got elected on 4chan forums and shit where people were saying like, did we do this with the Pepe thing? And they refer to it as meme magic, and it's, you know, obviously not like real, but there is some degree to where, you know, this is surfaced as like kind of a conduit for propaganda, which can be good or bad, right? So,
Oh, totally. Yeah, and it's like, you know, like I think that's kind of that's kind of why I the first episode of the show is called "Make Your Own Fucking Propaganda," because I really think that the internet was way cooler before the share button existed. You know,
Totally.
when it was when it was really just people putting their own take on what's going on in the world, and now it's just so easy to adopt whatever somebody who's way more media savvy created, you know, to manipulate people down all these dark paths. So there's something super valuable about people making, you know, in this case, memes, but any art form, because you're really kind of, instead of looking outward to take these things on, you're looking inward to see what's already there and develop those things and, you know, kind of become a real ass person, you know? So, so that's what kind of some of the thought was about that.
Yeah, for
Has
sure.
right-wing memeing fallen off? I feel like it has crested a hill in that I heard about it all the time like 5 years ago, and now no proud Pepe stan is standing atop a hill of success.
I feel like it's kind of gone just mainstream so much that you don't even think of it as meme culture anymore. I mean, now it's not so much 4chan as like people's aunts and uncles on Facebook sharing this same sort of shit, but just like, I mean, it's still even more ubiquitous now that it doesn't feel like this kind of subculture over here. It's really like it's kind of fucking everybody.
Do you feel that political cartoons are a form of meme? Is that maybe where this history begins?
Well, yeah. I mean, I usually don't try to define other people's work for them. Like I would imagine that all the classic political cartoonists wouldn't consider that the same thing. But, you know, I guess there's something there if they're going to, you know, you used to go in the store and see people cut out the political cartoon and tape it up on the cash register and stuff. So there was this mass sharing thing that went on with it before the internet. So.
Yeah.
But it was still like on a platform that most people, the vast majority of people, do not have access to. Whereas now, and also a very laborious thing to like take the time to draw out a whole, you know, scenario and put it there. But
You're gonna draw a whole Garfield? That's my old day.
right. Well, apparently they knock them out, and like, you know, Jim Davis will sit down for like 3 days to a week and just write all the year's worth of.
Oh, he
comics
batches
there.
them. That's smart.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Because they're not.
Bolts can run 100 meters really fast.
That's like when you go work on a fishing boat for like 3 months out of the year, and the work is brutal and grueling, and you lose a friend to the sea, but you come back and you make all your money for the whole year. But with Garfield cartoons.
But with Garfield cartoons.
Yeah, but I mean,
Well, that's for hit, but for political cartoons, it's got to be like timely and responsive to the news of the week, which, you know, not everybody has the ability to sit down and do that. So it seems like with memes, you have an idea, and I personally can't. I'm gonna try and watch the show and maybe learn. I cannot use Photoshop for the life of me. I have like the technical aptitude of a 65-year-old. The other day, I thought Jake remembers. You remember when I thought my computer had deleted everything?
Boy, do I remember.
Yeah. It turns out I just logged in as a guest instead of my own thing. Yeah, this is the level I'm working at. So there are people like me out there, but even people with like slightly more aptitude, you just like have an idea, and if it's a good idea, it just gets, you know, sent out there, and it's its own hierarchy of taste, right? It's not, you don't need someone from art school to dictate, oh, this is a good meme or a bad meme. If it clicks with people, then they share it, and that's how it works.
absolutely, yeah. And I mean, I hope I don't put off folks too much by making my shit on the computer. I do an episode where I make a meme on the phone, which is a lot more simple and straightforward. You know, I wanted to include that. That's how I got my start. That's how most people get their start doing memes. And when you do it that way, you can go from idea that pops in your head to a finished piece in 5 minutes, put it up on the internet, and then it can go all the way around that fucker. So,
well, that is also the point of the show, though. If there's some of this does take a little bit of skill, it's like, well, hey, we're having a skill share. We're having a little anarchist fucking, you know, meetup and going, let me show you how to use Photoshop and make a fucking gritty or whatever, right? So that's cool. I guess that's kind of why I asked you about
class. We'll teach you how to make a gritty.
This is kind of why I asked you about art school, because like I at one point in my life was like going into that sort of thing, and I wanted to be a graphic designer, and like I got really into Photoshop and Illustrator and stuff. And then I looked at how much it costs to go to art school and was like, well, that dream is over, you know, but I still have these skills. So like I can make a flyer and I can kind of, you know, just learn by Googling stuff or whatever. And you do kind of just have this skill set hanging around left over that you can't use in the traditional path if you're not a fucking bazillionaire, and you can't really, you know, it's just like excess stuff from working in offices and stuff like that. So it is cool that it is very accessible. Like a lot of people just have this. A lot of people have Microsoft, you know, all the shit you have to buy to work in an office already, maybe some Adobe stuff. And like the idea here is you can too. We can all just fucking permeate all this thought and you know, through art, right? Cool.
Yeah, yeah. And it's fun and it connects us, and it's you know, it's I remember one year in my life kind of in my memory where I didn't really create and make anything, and god damn, it was a terrible year. I just didn't kind of have any sense of self, and I was pretty miserable, you know. So like I kind of want to share that gospel of creation for creation's sake, because I'm a big believer in it. And yeah, why not use the tools we all kind of have?
Right. And it's a great medium for cultural exchange, right? It kind of reminds me of stand-up in some ways, where you'll see someone from a completely different background who will have a joke that just is hilarious because you can connect with it on some level. You get exactly what they're talking about, but you also don't. Like they're also coming from a totally different experience, but they, you know, you meet them in the middle, and that happens through memes all the time.
Yeah. Well, it's also
from all sorts of cultures, and yeah.
I know I just did a whole episode about this or whatever, but like it just also reminds me of like punk, because like there was a fucking moment where you had to be a rich person to go into like a studio and make music and shit, and then suddenly there was just enough like working class people around that there was like a bubble. This is, if you study art history and shit like that in college, there's these like cycles where things kind of roil and boil and reach a breaking point, and there is like a moment where everyone's like, you know, fuck this, I'm gonna smash the icon that is being worshipped, and we're gonna make, you know, music working class. And that's how you get like late 70s punk or whatever. And that kind of applies here with like, I'm not gonna go to fucking SCAD or some shit, you know, and like learn how to make art that changes the world by spending 1 million hours on some obscure oil painting. No, I'm just gonna grind out like millions of fucking memes on my like $500 laptop or whatever, you know?
Yeah, or the phone you already have. It's like even punk rock, like there were still some barriers to entry there, you know. And in this, there's, you know, if you have a phone, you're in. You know, it's like it's pretty sick. And there's just like punk, it's so valuable to give people a something to channel their frustration into that makes them feel less alone. It you know, it gives them a sense of community. I mean, there's a lot of these meme communities that exist online are where people are making a lot of friends. People like Anders was saying, people from all sorts of different backgrounds that you can learn from. And it, you know, if you aren't a dick, you can learn a lot about people, you know, like that's, I think the internet forgets that sometimes, but yeah, it's wild. It reminds me of punk in a lot of ways, you know. Totally. And graffiti. I do a whole episode about the similarities as I see it between like the early days of graffiti art and this infancy of an art form we're in with memes right now. So
totally. I'm really curious about what you use to make I haven't seen the episode yet. I'm like halfway through the series, but like how do you make a meme on your phone? Because I always have ideas for memes, and I'm like, shit, I gotta go home and use Photoshop or GIMP or whatever. And I know there are apps.
You gotta text a guy, right?
I don't quite understand it. And the reason I'm asking is because I have a really good picture of Alex Patak that I got while he was, his face was making a weird face while the Zoom call froze on our last episode. And now I want to know, I'm putting it in the chat right now. I'm going to make it
Stop putting it in the chat.
It'll be the episode art for anyone that wants to know what it looks like.
I'm getting rid of this picture. This was stolen from the museum of my face.
I want to know how to make a meme of this if I'm on my phone.
So there's a couple apps you can get, and I'll tell you what they all do. And this is what I've used, but there's all sorts of stuff out there, and they're all free, and you can do some amazing shit. So number one is Phonto, Phonto, and that's where you're going to do things like add text on top of the picture, which is basically meming's bread and butter, right? And the cool thing about that one is you can load custom fonts. If you find a zip folder of a font anywhere on the internet, you can install that font into Fonto and use that font. So, and then you can do different things with the style of the text and all that kind of shit. Some other useful ones that I use are Photoshop Mix, which is a free app that you can use. I primarily use it for like compositing layers. Like if I want to have a layer with a certain sort of opacity on top of another layer, like for backgrounds, shit like that. I usually use Photoshop Mix for that. And then there's Background Eraser. And that's something you can use if you find, if you look for a transparent PNG on the internet, a lot of them aren't actually transparent. It's a big fucking hassle. But if you use a app like Background Eraser, it can crop out the background, isolate elements, and you can put it wherever you want within your composition. And that's really all you need to get started. I like to use a couple things. Snapseed is a weird little Google image manipulation app that I like to use for like post-processing, just changing color levels at the end, adding grain and texture and that sort of shit. So it's super cumbersome. I mean, you're using four different apps sometimes to create a meme, but interestingly, in the show episode where I make one on the phone, I think I only use Fonto actually because I had a transparent image. So
Okay, cool. Well, I'd rather have 4 apps than like just pay. I just hate how you have to subscribe to Adobe now. So I've been using like GIMP, and which is like the freeware version of Photoshop. But it's a little more.
Why is it called that?
I don't know why. Because I don't know. But like, there is something to this now, where even the tools that you use to make this sort of stuff, like they kind of keep them, a little bit inaccessible, and so there's something to like freeware in this whole conversation, where that's a cool thing that we could be fighting for, is just making things really, really universal and accessible, and that being like a greater good than this stupid thing they figured out where you have to subscribe to a thing that you already bought.
Yeah. By the way, this photo is great if you want to feel what it's like to kiss Alex Patak.
It's just Zoom froze, and it was just like a weird. You were in the middle of saying a word, and your mouth is. It's just like, I don't know. You look like an emoji or something. I can't quite place
Smoochy, smoochy.
Anyway, I'm gonna use the skills I
Violation
learned
of my
on
time and space.
Seize the Memes to make a meme out of it. All right.
You could maybe put 2 strong men shaking hands over it.
We could do that, yeah.
It's just off the top of my head. You have a favorite meme?
Geez. It's hard to say. Generally, anything with Jar Jar Binks usually gets me. I don't know why. I guess it would be easier to say, God, I do have some. I kind of have a favorite memer. He's actually retired now, but he was kind of the main inspiration for me to kind of get started on this. He used to go by Cornfan 420, and now he's making music as Hot Leather 420. And his shit's great. It'll just be a picture of money, and it just says, like, if you hate paying rent and shit like that. And I actually have a section of the show where it's like artists you should follow, and I had space for I think 11 artists that I really dig their work, and he was featured in the last episode. But God, favorite meme, that's hard.
It's funny.
There's a lot of good
okay.
SpongeBob's.
Very, very memeable, very, very, very ubiquitous in memes is SpongeBob. I think I thought of my favorite meme. It's Macaulay Culkin from My Girl after he's in the coffin after he gets stung by bees, and he's just wearing an "I voted" sticker, and I've always really liked that one.
Oh, yeah,
And
that's funny.
that was done by Algerian Goku on Instagram.
But yeah, it's hard to say what a favorite would be, because so many of them are like not evergreen. They're just amazing because they're like responding to something that just happened 5 minutes ago on social media. But I would have to say my favorite, and this is an evergreen one, is I guess it would be called the caption, which is when you show up to the funeral and still want to add more heat, and it's a guy speaking at a podium, and he looks like he's roasting.
That's
Anyone
What
who's
do you
spoken
say?
at a funeral will know. They'll know right away what that's about.
But I was like, we were talking about the art school thing. I guarantee you that there are, like, grad students who are paying, $400,000 and going deeply in debt to write dissertations about memes, like a 30-page dissertation about Business Cat and how it represents late capitalism or something. Like, I wonder if that's going on. I'm sure it is.
It definitely is.
Yeah.
Any
Yeah,
of these
totally.
4 years arts universities, there's only like 1 year of practical training unless you're doing like intense craftsmanship kind of stuff. And then the rest is like the history of memes. Here's a paper. This is 6 months of your life. It costs $200,000.
Yeah, the institutionalized part of art is fucking stupid. That's why, there's constantly iconoclasts that come into the picture and say, hey, look, the emperor is not wearing clothes, huh? And
Look at
then
him.
we all go, oh, damn. And then the cycle
Get the
starts
meme
over
I
again.
made of this emperor.
I have a question, though, because, some memes are literally like you could just go to a generator because everyone knows the guys shaking hands and like I think my favorite one is from the Joker, him going, "You're laughing," and then you put something, "This happened," and you're laughing, and it's just like, I don't know, it's always funny, but there's nothing original about that really except for the use of it. So there's like it reminds me a lot as like a comic of logging onto Twitter every day and going, what's the fucking thing that we're joking about today, and how do I use it, which is not original at all, but my use of it is going to be original. How do I come up with the best take of it? Is that, do you like that part of it or not? Because I noticed that your stuff is, highly original, and you do, a specific, you have a look. I can look at a thing and go, that's a Teenage Stepdad meme.
Yeah, I mean that's kind of that kind of reminds me of working from a prompt, which is a cool different skill set, which is kind of fun. Yeah, I mean, I like that. I like that stuff, and people do hilarious stuff with that when they take an existing format and flip it into something different, or just make a great joke with it. But I guess because my process is such that I don't usually know what I'm doing till I sit down in front of the computer. It doesn't, it's like the things that are kind of being repeated in that way as far as memes goes aren't really an influence on that. So it's usually doesn't enter the picture, but sometimes I'll visit that sort of a prompt and format, but not very often, just because that's not really my process.
Yeah, I feel you. I mean, what you do is pretty. Original is not even the word, because it's so much of it is recreating a look of something else, but then that's kind of the bit or whatever. How does that work? Can you just look at a Sega Genesis cover art and then sit down and work backwards and figure out how they got it to look like that, or do you have to Google?
I guess so. On a good day, yeah, it's kind of like reverse engineering. I used to work in print, and I worked with all these old timers who would tell me how they used to do this stuff, like doing paste ups on paper and transfer letters and tapes. And there's a way to kind of recreate that stuff with the tools we have. So on the best days, you find something you have no idea how to do, and then you kind of draw from your previous experience and try to kind of figure it out as you go. But that's exciting when you have absolutely no idea how you're going to get to that finished product, and just kind of try this, that didn't work, try again. So
Yeah, this is wholesome and fulfilling. This is Bob Ross. This is what Bob Ross teaches you. It's a journey figuring out how to make the thing look like a lighthouse or whatever, and then you feel accomplished and good at the end.
And I think that's why I do a lot of the reason why I do it the way I do it is I kind of want to disappear for 6 hours while I'm working on a thing. Even if it's just a diarrhea joke, it's I kind of want the world to melt away a little bit and just kind of explore that while I'm not worrying about things like rent and the terrible state of the world,
I used to do a lot of this when I started doing stand-up. I was like, oh, I still have the skill of graphic design laying around, so I'll make the flyers for the shows and stuff like that. And I would really get lost about 5 hours into making a thing, where I would honestly have to step away from it because I'd be looking at it for so long that I couldn't tell what it looks like to fresh eyes, and I'd have to show it to people. And does this even make sense or whatever? Do you ever get that problem? Is that part of the process?
Anytime you're looking at a word, in a different typeface, and you're looking at the same word for 4 hours, at some point it just starts to look like an abstraction and just super strange. but yeah, sometimes you just gotta I was working on a thing earlier today, actually. It was just like, this is not going anywhere. Like, I have the seed of the idea, but it's not working how it is. So I think that's when you do file new and fucking go for it again.
Cool.
As Bob Ross always says. You can just imagine if he was teaching memes, I think he would have a very unique way about it where he could say, and what we're going to do right here to finish the painting, we're going to add a happy little bush. And then you have President George W. Bush. He's dodging the shoes.
And it's next to the Twin Towers. Yeah. Bush did 9/11.
He'd probably say something like, we made a mistake, but you have an undo button. I wish we had an undo button in life sometimes. Some shit like that, right?
Yeah, that's
we're
right.
We're going to hit Control Z. It's easy as that. 2 buttons. They're pretty near each other. No big deal. Control Z.
He actually tried to do that after 9/11. Can we Control Z that?
Yeah, to bring the towers
we
back
all
up.
wanted to do. This is a prompt. So I think the liberatory elements of meme making are self-evident. We're all aware of, I think this is what the show's about. You can create art in a free way. Almost anyone can do it. It's very democratic that way. But a new thing that's emerging is reactionary institutions, intelligence agencies, the CIA, oppressive government agencies. They all have their own Twitters or Instagrams, and they also have to make memes. How do you feel that the people running these accounts are being contracted for this? Do you think they're rogue meme makers who are then just put to the job, or are there like CIA training programs where they're like, this is a SpongeBob, he's under the rock?
Yeah.
Oh, damn. God damn, that'd actually be kind of an interesting kind of movie idea, I think. Somebody who gets popped for some sort of low-level offense, and to get out of it has to churn out content for the CIA, and I don't know, man.
Yeah, like a black hat.
2.
I maybe. Oh, geez.
Or is it white hat or black hat? The hacker thing. One of those means, that you like work for the government now, but they caught you doing something.
God, to think about that, there's probably a whole department in these giant buildings with people talking about this stuff, about effective meme strategies, just like they are in the corporate world. And thankfully, most of those people are really shitty at it. So,
yeah.
Their heart isn't in it.
You can tell when a cop made a meme most of the times. Every once in a while, something actually looks good, and it really alarms me. Like when we've talked about like Christian, like evangelical organizations and shit, how they've like been updating and trying to get better and better to like push their propaganda across. And like, the nature of power is that it co-ops, right? So eventually they're going to catch up, and they're going to be talking to kids using the I don't know, deep fried, Odie or whatever thing. And it's going to be like, hey, kids, why don't you join the military? And we're just going to have to keep making new shit.
Just like Odie.
It's deep fried. It looks cool because it's like, retro in that even in a digital sense. All right. Well, should we wrap up art talk and get into the news?
Yeah, what's in the news?
Okay.
What do we put our fingers into today?
The news. I'm trying to incorporate the pedal I have more into the show.
Nice.
That's what that was. This has been really Art Talk. What's going on, Alex? I've been busy. What did I miss this week?
Well, we've been talking about memes. I don't think you've missed a damn thing because you are always online, and that is all of our connection to this expansive world.
True.
Speaking of memes, there is one particular character on at least Twitter who has sort of become the meme of the week. Her name is Eve Barlow. And
is that how that's pronounced? I thought it was...
What is it? Oh, I misspoke.
Fartlow.
It's Eve Fartlow. She has sort of become the character of the week. She's been talking about Israel-Palestine, specifically how it makes her sad, and has put together a bunch of different pieces, especially this one produced by Tablet, the Jewish magazine, which is kind of explaining to the reader how, in her view, people on the internet calling her Eve Fartlow is the same as a pogrom.
Okay.
So it's kind of like a hot back to the touch sort of story, but it does raise the question: at what point is a funny name a physical attack?
Yeah, no, everyone remembers, lest we forget that that's the first thing the Nazis did was that they would change your name to a fart.
First, they memed the anarchists, and I said nothing because it was cringe.
Yeah. Well, okay,
Yeah.
that's pretty funny.
Well, I think the question of when does it become physical violence is an important question because I still have yet to hear any examples of this leading to any physical violence whatsoever, which would be too far. It would, not, and would also not be okay for people to do anti-Semitic caricatures against Steve Fartlow, but that is just not what is happening. And this is just further evidence of something we talk about on the last bonus, which is this is a technique is to try and limit the parameters of debate by zeroing in on ridiculous examples of so-called anti-Semitism and litigating them so pedantically that maybe the other side will just give up and say, okay, fine, that is anti-Semitism. I'll go do something else now.
It's reframing. It's taking the issue from an open space into your own lair where
Right.
Typing is actually assaulting me. But then even zooming out a bit outside, Israel-Palestine is the thing of the week again, but just as a general online navigation lesson for this story, if you're being bullied on the internet, don't write an article about it because that is only going to double down your problem instantly. And that is what we're seeing here.
Well, there's
Yeah,
an insistence that she's allowed to have this space, but people aren't allowed to react, which is what we always get into when we talk about whether cancel culture is real and all that shit or whatever. But I think somebody put it really well the other day. I'm trying to find the tweet to credit this person, but they said very succinctly, Twitter is always toxic except when you win or something like that. It's toxicity is relative
Napoleon
to
said that.
nobody calls something like a mean interaction on the internet toxic when they're the ones doing it. Then it's funny or it's dunking or whatever. But if it happens to you, suddenly it's this is exactly like Nazi Germany,
Yeah.
That happened to me with that Liz Smith lady, the Pete Buttigieg campaign lady who's on every evil fucking thing ever. I called him a rat. I made a rat joke about him. I think also using a gusano. It's something about a rat and a worm. I don't know. It was a dumb joke about animals. And she tried to...
You know how rats be with worms.
She made it...
Friends, enemies.
She dug up this whole thing. It's just in Nazi Germany, they would call people rats. So this is anti-Semitic. And it's have you not been on the internet for the last 3 years? We've been calling the man a rat because of the way his face looks. It's hilarious, But I guess you can recontextualize. It does raise an interesting question, though, because there is... Like you're saying with the Jewish stereotype characters and stuff, there's a line somewhere, but where is it?
Yeah. Well, what is the is it? We're using an anti-Maltese stereotype because Pete Buttigieg is Maltese. He's not.
You
Jewish.
goddamn Falcon people coming into my neighborhood.
They also have a dog.
Yep.
They have a type of dog.
That's true.
He also just kind of looks like a little mouse guy. So
He does.
Yeah.
Some
it's
people
okay,
be
it's
looking
cute.
like a mouse guy.
Yeah. I look like a cow. I look like a Scottish cow. I'm not offended if
You
people
look
point
like
that
a
out.
cow, you think?
A Scottish cow. It's a
I
particular.
learn new and exciting things about you every week on this program.
If you Google Scottish cow, it has my same complexion, the same color scheme as my face.
Okay. We all know Alex
it
looks
up.
like a dragon.
Right. What do you look like?
What do I look like?
A rat? No.
A clown. You look like a clown to me.
Not an animal, but all right. I'll take it.
Oh no, you look
Mr.
like
Clown.
didn't you draw the gorilla or the orangutan?
An
Hey,
orangutan?
You could be a
I
Harambe.
thought you drew
How's
that.
that
Didn't you
sound?
draw that at one point?
You
Someone
look,
drew-
motherfucker, you look like an orangutan. You have orange hair.
Oh my
I
goodness.
do, but I.
This
I
has
do, too.
escalated so quickly.
I look more
do
like a
have
Scottish
I have
cow.
Scottish cow up, and Anders does look like it.
I'm gonna look this
Yeah.
up.
It's okay. People look like animals, right? And like, yeah, something in isolation.
Man, I stand
You
corrected.
can extrapolate anything out, and this is what I was thinking about
You
today.
do look like that.
Yes, but this is what I was thinking about today. Like, there was that New York Post story that dropped, which is old news, by the way. We knew this a year ago, but Bernie Sanders loves, or he demands that his hotels are at 60 degrees.
He
and
demands
that he
it.
has
That's right.
king-size beds. You could easily take that and, extrapolate it out and say this is anti-Semitic and never be like right or wrong about it. But nobody does that in the media because they don't like Bernie Sanders. Like, imagine if the standard they had applied to Jeremy Corbyn or critics of Israel had been applied to critics of Bernie Sanders. Like, no one would be able to say anything. Because, like, anything you say, like, people saying, oh, he just makes my skin crawl. That could be anti-Semitic. This is
Yeah.
all selective.
It's just so funny that the angle they went for is that Bernie Sanders is a bougie prince, when the real angle on a king-size bed and 60-degree hotel is this man is old. He is just like the old people you know. He needs a big bed. He's very bossy about stuff.
King size is like a normal size for a bed. What is he
It's
gonna
one of the four sizes.
sleep on a twin bed or something? It's weird. He's an old
I
man.
once
Now, if he was demanding a California king bed, I would raise an eyebrow at that, because that's unreasonable in most hotels.
Those
What is
are
that,
weird.
like a king-size bed with avocado?
Yeah, that's what it is.
Anders, shut the fuck up. It's like a bed the size of a room. Have you seen it?
A California
No,
king
Jesus.
is like longer than a normal bed. It's if you're like 7 feet tall and you're tired of your feet hanging off the end. It's really weird. I don't know who needs that much leg space.
Yeah. If you are like booking a hotel for a basketball team, maybe you could insist on this giant bed.
Bernie Sanders
thank
claims
goodness.
to hate the 1%, and yet he sleeps in a king's bed. Well,
Ah.
busted.
Jake, how would you like to write for The Atlantic?
I already work for
Been
the New York
scouting
Post.
you all these years.
Can't do it.
So
Is-
that's one of the exciting online blips this week. In slightly more serious news, the Associated Press fired Emily Wilder.
Right. She was actually canceled. She was not, called a funny name by jokesters. She lost her job
Scottish cow-looking motherfucker.
yeah, for using what was also regarded as anti-Semitic. She said that, what was it, Sheldon Adelson looked like a naked mole rat, which is just
He
objectively true.
does look like that, though.
Yes.
People
Yet
just
again,
look like
undeniable.
animals.
Yeah.
Anders
we are
looks
related
like
to
this Scottish cow thing. I've never seen this animal before until this conversation. Now I want to get one. They're cool, man.
I gotta look this up.
Dude, it's fucking cool. It looks like
Yeah, they're just ginger cows.
it looks like a cow that's in Of Montreal or something.
It does feel like it's copying Anders to a certain extent.
Yeah.
But yeah, what was her thing? She was just fired for being in a Palestinian group in college, or
No, she made a joke about Sheldon Adelson that was construed as anti-Semitic.
the
This
thing
is
is, race aside, Sheldon Adelson and a whole crop of billionaires do have a hairless thing happening. And I want to look into the science of that sometime.
I think it's because you can't grow back hair. It is not actually possible. Like, hair plugs don't work. So when you got like a guy like Jeff Bezos, what they do is they think, I'm going to go like Bruce Willis and shave my head when I start going bald, because no one wants to be like, I guess, like a comb over guy or whatever. But then they like can't just I think you can be a bald guy and kind of have like a 5 o'clock shadow on your head and be like kind of scruffy looking, and it's kind of cool.
Jason Statham.
Yeah, but like these guys are psycho, they obsess over everything they do. So Bezos is at home just shaving every inch of his body because he's like, this is my look. My look is that I'm smooth and I'm like a lizard or something, like stuck on your windshield.
When you're smooth, you're without flaws. And I think that's the look. And also to aspire after your hero, Mr. Clean. Someone strong, someone spotless.
Well, hair also, I believe, protects you from germs. And if you live in like a immaculately clean domain, then you don't need hair. So maybe that's what they're going for. They want to be like pure.
They want the germs. He's like, I'm building a biome in my gut, stronger than any man.
I don't know if that's actually true, if hair protects you from germs. But you know what is also not objective is the Associated Press. Because...
Really?
Yeah, a lot of people are like, oh, well, she must have gotten fired because she showed bias. And the AP is the one source out there, them and Reuters, who does not have bias. They are a wire. They just report the FACTs.
They also, by the name, make it sound like they're a conglomeration of businesses when it's really just one corporation, right?
Right. It literally sounds
like a guild.
Yeah, well, it sounds like these are all the news sources in the world got together and put their views together, and this is the most objective statement they came up with.
Yeah.
Is how I feel like a lot of people think of it.
Like an impossible thing. Objectivity is like impossible, so that's a stupid claim to make. I also just want to point out another thing about this Associated Press thing. So they fired this writer for perceived anti-Semitism. Obviously, it's like a bullshit case. Obviously, they're just biased against Israel. A week ago, I think it was, the IDF blew up one of their offices. What the fuck? I mean, it's like, it's very like, what's the word for it? I don't know.
It's a hell of a thing, man.
It's fucked
That's
up,
a hell of a thing, Jake.
They blew up your office and then you fired someone in defense of them. Like it's like remember when the cops shot that UPS driver and then UPS like apologized to the police, like, we're sorry, our employee got in the way of your bullets.
Yeah.
It's an elaborated form of simping.
Right.
That's really what it is. That was the technical term I was looking for.
Yeah, it's an abusive relationship, but the AP has historically been deferential to power, and there's a great article by John Schwartz in The Intercept about their little-known history, and they began in the 19th century during a conflict we did a bonus episode about last year, the little-known Mexican-American War, which you don't really learn too much about in school, but it is the reason that the U.S. is as big as it is. We just took California, New Mexico, Arizona. We took, like, most of Mexico from the Mexicans.
I have to say, in terms of, like, scandal to land victories for wars, one of America's best, because people don't even know about this one, and we have like a third of our states from it.
Yeah. But so this guy Moses Yale Beach, who basically the New York Sun, they were they're struggling to find enough resources to cover this international war, so they joined up with 4 other New York newspapers to share the cost of covering the war. So that's kind of where the Associated comes in. And what they did was he got sent to Mexico using a British passport that was fake, working for the Americans. He basically was an undercover spy, working, not objective at all, working on behalf of the American government because he believed in manifest destiny. And that's what this really, the coverage was about. That's what the war was about. That's what the AP was about.
That's where the Associated Press came from?
Yeah.
Wow.
And then
Damn,
like,
I'm learning on a podcast.
then Battle of Little Bighorn. They describe the enemies as red devils.
Holy shit.
You know, they're very pro.
Yeah, they're objective.
Yeah.
They calls them like the season.
They're associated.
Right.
Uh-huh.
And you would think, like, okay, well, maybe they're, not objective about the U.S. because they're Americans, so they're pro-America. They love America, and the whole press corps, they're not Democrat or Republican, but they are American. That's what it's all about. But it with domestic stuff as well, it's very to the right. 1913, their coverage of the mine strikes was not objective at all. They were very anti-worker, anti-socialist. Upton Sinclair wrote a whole book about them called The Brass Check, which used to be very well known, but kind of, fell out of favor over the years. So this is what their role has been during Vietnam. And then I do also want to add, friend of the show, mustachioed maven, Bob Perry, whose house I used to go over to for Halloween parties when I was in the 90s.
That's how he's connected to the show.
Uh-huh.
Yes. But he worked for the AP. And he has a story about how he was having... He's like one of the guys who broke the Iran-Contra scandal. Like, he made it a story. And at first, he was, like, at the AP's... the head of the AP's house, like, smoking cigars, literally smoking cigars. And the head, like, really leans on him and is like, we don't want you covering this. It's bad for the country. And he's like, this is not, well, that's something, I'm supposed to care about the truth. I'm a journalist. So finally they, like, let them sort of investigate, Robert Perry and Brian Barger, the Contra cocaine scandal, which is a real thing. The CIA facilitated the sale of cocaine into the United States to fund the Contras, so they could rape and murder and, fight the left-wing Sandinista government. And they edited their reporting to death. So they basically couldn't really report anything of consequence because the AP was so, like, diligent about not letting any of that shit out. And again, that's foreign policy. That's arguably, pro-America. Look at the way they covered Eric Garner. They began their coverage of his murder as Garner was overweight and in poor health.
Come on.
Damn. That's also
Man
how
died.
Yeah.
And they said, like, they used the go-to cop apologia line that cops use themselves if they're like, well, if he's saying I can't breathe, it means he can breathe. Like, talk to a fucking doctor.
Real glass houses
Yeah.
when the cops start calling people fat, too.
Really.
Very true.
It's not the move I would go for.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
AP, not objective.
Wow. Okay, well, fuck them. That's pretty fucked up. Yeah, you can
I'm
totally...
unsubscribing from the Associated Press. Getting it up on my phone.
Yeah. I'm going to make a mean meme about them, huh? Topical?
Yeah. Let's do some AP memes. For
Okay.
Sure.
That'll get them.
They're like brochiated press. There we go.
Yeah.
Bros.
It's
Fucking-
Scumbag Steve, and what it says is, I'm the Associated Press.
Uh-huh.
Oh, I forgot to ask about
Oh
him.
man, You're
Do you
good at
guys know
this.
the Scumbag
Thank
Steve
you.
story?
He, like,
There's
came
a
out
story?
and did a thing recently, right?
I don't know. Maybe he did, but I remember like a long time ago when that meme was really big. Someone interviewed him, and his actual name is Blake Boston, and he's
That
from
rules.
Boston. And I had a roommate who went to high school with him, and he said he was kind of he would try to start fights but not finish them.
That's funny. I like it when they track down people from memes and then they're
Yeah.
they're nice, but when they're actually the person from the meme, it's kind of depressing.
Yeah.
Excuse me, are you really a sad girlfriend? Have you been a girlfriend before?
I saw a thing where they tracked her down, and she's like very normal, and thinks it's funny. It's cool.
I was young. There was a camera. I thought, what if I look at it? And that was a mistake I made. I can't take it back.
What else is going on? What's up with this Powerpuff Girls script leak? What is that?
Okay, so this isn't like at the top of anybody's list, but I do think it is kind of jarring in a way that warrants attention. They're rebooting the Powerpuff Girls.
Okay.
Right away, the question you're going to have, Powerpuff Girls, that's a show that came out in like, what, 2003, 2002, something like that?
Yeah, in the Iraq War.
Around there. Are they making it for new girls and boys? Or is it for us later to catch up on what's going on with the Powerpuff Girls?
It's for adult children, right?
And I think it's kind of a terrible synthesis of the two. Some of the scripts leaked because the show isn't out yet on what they have planned for this. And I do feel like a little bit of this is just overblown because any script kind of looks stupid if you just leak it on the internet. But I'm going to read some quotes here, and we'll see how it goes over. So this is from the upcoming Powerpuff reboot. This is in the script. Okay, Bubbles. Blossom's fine. I saw her on Insta that she has a boyfriend. I saw on her LinkedIn that she got promoted, and I saw on Facebook that she still talks to Grandpa despite their political differences. Buttercup. Coming back here is probably triggering for her, in quotes. Bubbles. Why? Because she's the one who killed Mojo? I mean, moveon.org.
And so
we have another sample.
She's saying that as like a sort of a catchy way to say move on.
Yeah.
Come on, moveon.org.
Yeah.
Moveon.org. Okay. Maybe they're trying to get that started. Maybe we're getting it started.
Gotcha.
Okay.
Oh, that's terrible.
Well, it's like, because we've been talking about how making memes is like very natural and beautiful experience here, and this is what happens when you pay someone like $60,000 to be like, write something that's like this that you think they'll like later.
Well, that's the thing, right? There's a cycle of memes. They're like very temporal. They're funny the day of, and then like the cycle moves so fast that a few days later they're saying it on Saturday Night Live, and you're like, I want to fucking kill myself. They're saying Harambe on Saturday Night Live, but they co-opt like that. They literally like. I've talked to writers on TV shows where like I just watch you people on Twitter and like wait for the, what the thing is going to be that week, and it's constantly being sucked upwards and then reappropriated by power. Right.
That makes a lot of sense. All right, so this is
there you go
by Powerpuff. Yeah. You misspoke.
Abuse of Powerpuff comes as no power surprise. Jenny Holzer.
I gotta read this one other clip here. This is probably the most infamous one. So this is Buttercup talking, who, as we remember, is the spunky girl, and she's saying, "Bloss," her sister's name is Bloss, "wake up, or we'll leak your nudes everywhere." And then off Bubbles' confusion, "That worked on you for once." So this is the threat of nudes to these young crime-fighting girls.
Wait.
Who are nary prepared for such an engagement.
They're adults in this reboot? This is like them when they're grown up?
I don't think so.
What the fuck?
And aren't they still girls?
I don't know. That's fucked up if so. Also, who is this for?
It kind of makes sense in that, like, the people who watch Powerpuff Girls growing up are now adults themselves, so they might want to update it in that sense. But I've seen it. It's going to be on the CW? So it's going to look like shit.
I believe so. It's kind of a lateral move from Cartoon Network. But the thing about leaking nudes, when you think about how this script is drawn, is they're like little ovals. So like,
no, but this is going to be
nightmare scenario. You're like, oh no, my oval.
No, but this is going to be. It's going to be live action. The stills I saw were live action.
That it has to be that they're like adults now.
Yeah, it has to be. You couldn't get girls to be so powerful.
Well,
I think
can't
they're
have
grown-ups.
10-year-old child actor and be jokes about leaking their nudes.
They'll send you to jail.
I think
they'll lock you up.
they're grown-up women, and it's I guess Powerpuff Women didn't have the same ring, but
Well,
they still
like the Spice Girls.
right.
Should
But
be
it is
Spice
going to be
Women.
live action, and that's what I'm kind of worried about. I think it's not going to. You just can't. The CW sucks. Like a lot of great characters go to the CW and die because they don't have the budget for making a full-on action superhero sci-fi thing. Just do animation. They should have animated it.
I don't think any of us here want to besmirch the good name of the CW, the network that brought us The Flash. They're doing great work over there, but this does raise some alarms about my Powerpuff expectations coming up.
Teenage Stepdad, if you were going to make a meme that looks like the Powerpuff Girls art, how would you go about that?
Like the classic or the updated live action?
The classic for sure.
Stick to the classic.
You'd probably need to do that in Illustrator, which is better for things like strong lines and solid areas of color.
Yeah, vectors and shit, right?
Yeah, that sort of thing.
All right.
They have a good font.
They do.
Oh hell yeah, yeah. They've got a great logo. They had a great look. Isn't that is that the same dude who did Dexter's Laboratory and later Primal and?
It seems like that because at the time, everything that was very angular like that was coming out of Cartoon Network, like Samurai Jack. That show was very pretty,
super influential, great shit. I wish they were redoing it as animation. It'd be nice to share that with my girls, but I don't think I'll be letting them watch the live action one if it keeps going in this direction. I'll tell you. This is all for daddy.
Time to keep these girls to myself.
Yeah, just rubbing your hands together like I'm gonna watch the Powerpuff Women tonight. All right, give me a beer. All right. Well, you guys wanna? I'm gonna pause. All right. What else is happening?
New York City, the capital of the world, is, of course, experiencing primary season for the mayor and city council and other races. And it came out that the Celebrate campaign of the left, Diane Morales, has had some staffing issues.
Oh, no.
They formed a union recently, or they're trying to form a union, but today it appears that 4 staffers have been laid off. All 4 of which, according to sources from the campaign, were organizing for the union. So I think that kind of tells us where her politics are. I know there's slim pickings if you're a socialist in the New York mayor's race, but Diane Morales, I hate to tell you, she ain't it. I'm not saying don't vote for her, but what I guess I'm concerned about is that people get really invested emotionally and materially in her campaign, and it loses and leads to a Eric Adams victory, which I think is the worst case scenario, or a Yang or Garcia victory. They all 3 are kind of things to be avoided. Basically, anyone else but those 3. Or she actually wins, which is unlikely, but think of de Blasio at this point, right? He was very far behind in the polls in 2013. Shit shifted and changed, and he ended up winning, and he was the leftmost candidate, and he let everybody down. So that's something to be really wary of. The left is not going to be coming into power if Diane Morales makes it into Gracie Manor, and we know this because she, not only is anti her own staff unionizing, but is pretty recently gave an interview that came out recently where she was saying that she didn't even want to identify as a progressive. She's like, I don't like the term, yada, yada, and I'm pro-school choice. So she's pro-charter school.
As opposed to pro-school life. Which is where...
Never stop learning. You're never too old.
Which is pro-public school, pro-public education, investment in public education, which is what we need, and not more charter schools that produce technical incompetence, such as myself, who can't even make a meme. These are the stakes, folks.
Man.
And she's a gentrifier. She works for a housing company that's,
well, New York City is fucked to death. It is going down deep into its own sewer. It ain't never coming back. Move here, move to hell. We're all gonna die.
Well,
We're
yeah.
all
I mean,
rats
as
now.
I've said ad nauseum at this point, there are 6 awesome and even more great candidates for city council. There's 6 DSA endorsed, a lot of other good ones like Sandy Nurse who are running as leftists or progressives. And if enough of them win, I really don't think it matters who the mayor is. Don't get too invested in the mayor race. Try to prevent Eric Adams, but other than that, city council all the way, baby.
Yeah, that's fair enough. That's a good way of looking at it. The mayor's race is fucking stupid. It's a TV show.
For the birds.
I mean, I do think in like 8 years from now, there is going to be a dyed-in-the-wool socialist with a big, sizable base running for mayor in New York City that could win. But we're not there yet, unfortunately.
Well, until then, I'm Sliwa-pilled, man. I'm voting. I'm registering as a Republican so I can vote for the Guardian Angels guy.
Hell yeah.
Because he rules. He's crazy. He tries to fight
You
people
gonna
and shit.
personally be on the train doing karate?
He does for to promote his campaign. He rode the train for 24 hours the other day, wearing the beret and everything, and protecting people from in case hoodlums show up.
Hey, don't touch her! I'm running for mayor.
He also somebody told me a really funny story. I was sharing war stories the other night about the fucking riots last year, and somebody was telling me they were downtown in Manhattan, and or not, I don't know what downtown. They were in Manhattan somewhere, and a bunch of Guardian Angels showed up to protect a Foot Locker because they're racist. So they were just like, the black people are going to break into this Foot Locker, you know? And then like just a bunch of punk kids showed up and got into a street brawl with them. So they just fought a bunch of like 70-year-old men in front of a Foot Locker. They're all doing like 70s roundhouse kicks and shit. Oh, man, That's the New York I want to live in. If we can't have a socialist mayor, we can't have a progressive mayor even, let's just swing in the other direction, man.
I mean, Andrew Yang he said, "Can you dig it?" in his announcement. He's the most mayor likely to bring it back to the Warriors.
Yeah.
So.
Hell yeah. Andrew Yang's gonna be campaigning wearing like the Native American vest and shit from the Warriors. Like, what did I do now? Why is everyone so mad at me? All right.
There is a part of me that feels bad for him just because I feel like he takes people's ideas and then has to reap those consequences immediately.
He's just dumb.
It's just a vest. You said they liked the vest.
He's just a dummy, man. More stupid than evil, but still, I ain't voting for you. You know.
Yeah.
This has been New York Mayor Update.
All right.
Some people are just like, because it's you get 5 boxes to tick because it's ranked choice, and some people are putting Yang as their last one. Some leftists just to prevent Adams, which is worst case scenario.
Fair.
Do what you will. I don't have an endorsement.
All right. Well, we
Strong
did.
words.
We did art talk, and then we did news of the week, and then we talked about the New York update, and I think that's a podcast. So,
Oh yeah.
thank you for joining us, Teenage Stepdad. Please let our audience know where they can find all your work and your new show and everything, man. Promote that shit.
Hey, thanks for having me. I'm on the internet as Teenage Stepdad and Instagram, Twitter, etc. But the big thing, Seize the Memes, art instruction show coming out 6/9, of course. Nice. On Means TV.
Nice.
Watch
Cool.
it right now.
Anybody else got anything to plug before we get out of here?
I think that's about it. Hair plugs, maybe? I don't know.
Alex, Anders?
At Andersley here on Twitter, Dursley1, Instagram. Yes. Check it. But volunteer, donate to the DSA for the city slate.
I will say hair plugs did definitely work for Joe Biden, so he can't totally disrespect their record there because he has hair now and he did not have hair before.
Dude, what would he have looked like if he hadn't got them? Like, what would he look like now? Just a skeleton? Totally? Like a bald... He would look like skinny Lex Luthor, basically.
Yeah.
Right. I don't think he's going to keep it patchy. It's either back on or back off.
Well, it's
Mr. Clean
glued to his head. Like, it's not going away at this point.
It probably doesn't grow.
Yeah.
He has to get
It looks
haircuts where they
exactly the same, yeah.
approximate to equal the fucking fake hair on his head.
I don't know the science behind it. I'm just saying it looks good. And the only plug I have for you this week, I've changed my Twitter handle. I'm no longer Patak Jokes. I am now Patak Test Kitchen. Subscribe to Patak Test Kitchen on Twitter for all of my podcasts and the latest flavors from around the internet. Just come and get a bite.
Okay, we have merch for sale. Link in the show notes. We have a Patreon if you're a new listener. You want bonus episodes and talk shit about us on our Discord and all that stuff. Have fun. Write a positive iTunes message. It helps our, show get around. Or write a mean one. I found out recently they don't factor into the overall. Doesn't matter. So
Really?
talk
Even
shit
if
to
they
your.
give it a low
It's
star rating.
on iTunes. You get you move up in the ranking as per your cumulative positive rankings. But you don't move down because of the negative ones. So literally have a field day in there. Talk all the shit you want. I don't care. Say I did all the evil things that you think I did. Have a good time. Really get it out of there, Get it out
If
of
you
your
leave
system.
a negative one, it should behoove you to leave 2 positive ones.
Do whatever you got to do. Also, I don't know how many listeners we get from iTunes, but sure, maybe. I think I don't have anything else other than Why You Mad and stand up soon. I don't know. Look at my Twitter. All my shit's on my Twitter. All right, that's been the podcast. It's finished.